getting a thumbs up. This is very good. All right, well, I'll call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Rules Committee of the Representative Town Meeting. And first item on the agenda is approving the January 13 minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Yes, a second, please. Good. I'm going to give me a...
You'd have to go to
You say,
1079 to figure out what
everybody's, I will say for the general public that it's a little chilly in this room tonight. So,
Okay.
you're good?
Yeah.
All right.
Saving
A second,
This is the capital
corrections,
budget to do
any
meeting
corrections,
minutes.
additions to the minutes, anything? Okay, everybody, all in favor? Aye.
See that? Right down.
Opposed? I see none. Abstentions? I see none. Minutes are passed. We have a number of items that we're dealing with here for the RTM meeting for the agenda. One thing that I'll just say more as an announcement that we talked a little bit about having shooter training because there's so many new people coming in and we're working on that. I'll have that worked out by the time the RTM meeting rolls around. An announcement of dates when they can do it. We're in discussions with the chief. We have, it's very interesting that I put the Norotan intersection project and the easements required for that up here. There are 7. And so the question is, well, all right, now how are we going to handle this? So I was on the phone with Wayne Fox to find out what I was allowed to do and what I couldn't do. We have to nominate each one of these, but we do them as a group. We just take all of them and say, okay, let's have a nomination favor and get that on the table, allow people to come forward and give their reports on the whole batch. Then we have to have a recorded vote, but I am allowed to vote on all of them at the same time, call a vote for all of them at the same time, and then if people have an exception, like they're in favor of everything except they don't want the 185 Norotan Avenue easement, they can give that to the secretary, to the clerk of the RTM, and she'll record that for them. So that's the way I'll try and handle it and make sure that we're not there all night doing these items which are relatively routine. Okay?
So is that,
Yes.
so you're gonna say the addresses for each one? How are you gonna do it?
Yeah.
Whoever-
Well, they'll have item numbers on them.
But whoever is the
So I'll say-
lead committee is going to have to nominate each one, move each motion, ask for a second,
Okay.
all right?
Okay.
When I spoke to Wayne, he said that we could do the first one and then give our reports on the first one, then move the second one, get a second, move the third one, get a second, move the fourth one, get a second, and then we can vote on all of them.
So one
Although
report.
the Board of Selectmen voted on these
Right.
separately,
Right.
Yeah, well, that's
because each one of them are in fact different.
it's
Right.
true.
I saw that, yeah.
But in speaking with him late this afternoon, saying, all right, Wayne, this is a negotiation, you understand? So he did agree that we could vote on them as a group, and if anybody had a particular one they had an exception to, they just give it to the district chair. And it accomplishes the same thing because the votes will be counted, okay? It's not like you raise your hand and all in favor. It's not a voice vote at all. It'll be recorded, but it's just a simplified way of recording the vote. Great, so assignment, well, we'll go through the rest of this and then do the assignments. Next is the special appropriation for the police department. We can actually, might as well assign them now.
Why don't
So-
we go to the first one?
So let's go to the intersection projects and say, what do we got for that? We got Public Works,
Public Health and Safety.
PH and S?
PH and Z, PZ and H,
Yeah,
and F and B. The,
no public
Wait,
works?
which one are we
yeah,
on?
Public Works,
We're on the west,
First one.
Norotan now, the first
We're doing
one.
each one, okay.
Yeah, Well,
Public
this-
Works, Public Health and Safety because the intersection is part of a safety issue.
right,
PZ and H because they have to issue an 824 report which says that this project is consistent with the town plan. If it is consistent with the town plan, they only need a 50% vote. If it was not consistent with the town plan, they needed a 2/3 majority vote to pass this. And F and B because the total cost will be about $66,000, which will not be paid until the grant is received. And then the amount of the $66,000 or thereabouts will be paid by the grant. So effectively, it should cost us nothing other than the cost, even some of the negotiation, and that will be covered by the grant that we should be getting. The grant, acceptance of the grant is expected to be done at our May budget meeting.
yeah. So we get money from the state.
So the question is, who do you want to?
Who wants to kick off, who wants to kick it off? Public Works?
That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
okay, so we'll make them primary.
there is a meeting if anybody wants to know.
Tomorrow.
No,
No?
Wednesday.
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 so, all four of those committees are meeting on Wednesday because Ed, Gentile is gonna be on vacation the following week, so Jeremy and Ed, will be at that meeting. And in fact, the next two will also be covered at that meeting as well.
Talk about efficiency, huh?
Seth, I mean, it's
Yes.
public health and safety, we're happy to weigh in on it. I'm not sure we should be lead on it, but we're happy to talk about it, because it is a safety issue.
Yeah.
No, we have
We
Public
have
Works,
either.
PH&S, P&Z, and F&B.
So you want Public Works?
So,
I would
think P&Z
Public
comes
Works are
before
gonna,
Public
is gonna
Safety
kick it
on
off,
this.
right? Is that what we?
No,
Why not?
it doesn't matter who goes in order, it's just who's primary.
Primary.
Yeah,
So primary is Public
Public
Works
Works.
because Ed is doing most of the work with Jeremy and everybody else is secondary.
yeah. Okay,
Sounds good.
So I have a motion, do we wanna
Yeah,
make a
let's-
motion for those?
yeah. Motion, please, in favor of that?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, second, please? All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous.
Who was the second on that? I'm sorry. I looked-
Monica.
There were 5 hands, pick out whoever.
I wasn't looking.
You could have picked anybody anyway, because we wouldn't have known the difference.
Special appropriation for the police department HVAC repair.
I would make a motion for Public Works, Public Health and Safety because it is the police department, and F and B because it's money.
PH&S is the lead?
Yep.
Public
Okay,
Health and Safety, so-
yeah, primary. yeah.
And third was F&B.
Because they have the
F&B.
police.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. So can I have a motion on that, please?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
So Public Health and Safety.
Yeah, public is primary.
We're primary.
Could be a big night for public health and safety.
That's
here,
right.
The way this is going.
So we're primary on the HVAC?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And the next one.
And the next one, acceptance of the gift for the police department.
Right.
So, and the F&B second on the police, the gift.
Yep.
What is the gift?
It's laser
Money.
tag and, not really.
Easy.
It's a system that allows them to change how they're training for their shooting. Because the current area is you're pretty much standard if you're shooting a gun. This has a laser with about 800 different scenarios where they can move around and train on various scenarios. There's also a secondary gift on that, and I just don't recall exactly, but all of the detail for both the special appropriations and the police department are in the Board of Finance's packet I have resolutions for, the intersection and the, HVAC. I'm waiting for the resolution for the gift. I also have Frank's
I
resolution.
have that. The gift resolution's been,
All right, just so we can hand them out.
oh, yes, exactly, I'll get it to you.
Okay.
Okay, so, motion on the gift, public health and safety primary, F&B secondary.
Make a motion.
The Lois wants to get in on that.
I'll second it.
Second from Jack. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Resolution modifying Appendix B, this is the Frank's pet, and dragged into doing this by the scruff of the neck of the DVR. Yes,
One page.
so we can more easily schedule RTM meetings without running into myriad of different holidays.
It's coming.
So,
It should be. Two sides.
Two-sided, save the tree.
Save the branch.
A little background on this draft resolution. There's been some concern for scheduling RTM meetings. It's described in Appendix B at the moment. You see it down here at the bottom, maybe on the second page. That there is some discretion for scheduling, rescheduling RTM meetings in the event of power failure or inclement weather. But there's no provision there for rescheduling RTM meetings in view of religious holidays or the coronavirus or some other eventuality. So we've been assisted by Town Council Wayne Fox in making an appropriate phrase here, which gives the moderator some flexibility in scheduling the RTM meetings and for breaking the hammerlock that was in there in the first place. While doing that while that was under consideration, town administrator and first selectman suggested another change. It's described on the front page here. There's been a long-standing concern for the scheduling of the state of the town meeting. It's always been by Appendix B, had to be in December. As we know, that's right after the election, and it's right after the time of, well, you may have a new incumbent who has to make the state of their department known. It's also at a time where there's a little juggling around within the departments of newly elected people or people who have additional responsibilities. So it seemed appropriate to combine these two issues and sort of clear the decks a little bit. So therefore you see here in red, rather than have the state of the town in fourth Monday after, so in effect December, have it in January and turn the December meeting into a regular meeting where regular business is
So you're
conducted.
flipping, yeah.
So, that is this is a draft submitted to us by town council with all the whereases on the top of it and formatted, ready to go.
Terrific.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So frequently, when we have union contracts for the Board of Ed, we have a certain time frame in which we have to approve that after it's filed with the town clerk. There have been a couple of occasions when it's done in February, but other times it's done in January. Does this say that now we will not have a January meeting other than the state of the town?
I could give you a ad hoc answer, is that any business could be done during the meeting.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can do it after
Okay,
next
I just
today.
wanted to, in the
And-
past,
Because that has happened, by the way.
yeah, in the past though, typically it wasn't done, but if that's there, then that.
Because it does
works
say
Yeah.
a meeting, right?
Right,
It's the
okay.
meeting.
Now, that's
As
one
long as
man's
we can-
opinion, I think.
No, as long as we can do other things and it's not considered to be.
We're the
something
Rules Committee,
state-
right? We
Yeah, I also think it's a
Do
great
anything
idea
we-
because we're not always full.
At election time, we hope to be full, but oftentimes we're still trying to fill those last remaining spots, and we saw that happen again this year. And I remember thinking, oh, it's such a bummer, December is such a great time for all our new RTM reps to hear everything that's going on, and they're not always quite filled yet. So I think just giving them an extra month in January would be good.
The other concern from the boards was that they have new leadership in some cases, and
Agreed.
and they just give everybody a chance to get up to speed before. So, yeah, I think this works.
Jack, sometimes I was thinking that the Board of Ed contracts were held so that it matched our schedule. So this
That,
some
it always
flexibility.
says held, but in
This year?
frequently, when you're preparing budgets and other things like that, it's better to have it done sooner rather than later. So in most cases, and like next January, the administration union, contract will be done because it's the year after the, teachers' contract, as you know. So, yeah, I just wanna make sure that if we have business to be done in January, we can do it. That's all I
All right. So,
The only other-
motion in favor, please?
care.
Just one more
Oh, yeah,
thing
sure.
to say is that, it does snow in January, more likely than it does in December.
Least amount of snow this year.
Ever.
Thank you, Adele.
But we
Okay.
have the ability
To move it.
to move it because of this.
Yes, we
do.
Because of the inclement
We
weather.
actually missed a union contract because of it snowing, and it said it had to be held on the following Monday, it couldn't be done on the next day. And Frank, I believe, you were on TGS and
Yeah, that
we
was-
changed that.
It was a few years ago.
That
I
was the
remember
year
that,
we
yeah.
just missed it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, is it worth then putting in or thinking about, in a case like that, the ability to email your vote to the town clerk?
No.
In special circumstances, because a
No.
lot of other.
We also know that the moderator can post a special meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
Right.
Or the vice chair can.
If we really get jammed up,
Yeah.
a special meeting can be called.
Yeah. Okay. So, motion in favor of this, please? And duking it out, Eric.
Second.
Second, please? There we go. All in favor? It's unanimous? Right. Now we come to, I promised that I would put all the subjects that I'd heard that were, yes, Frank?
The committee needs to be assigned on this.
We
Yes,
did.
I do.
Well, yes,
Not formally assigned.
yes, yes. I just, thank you for that
It would be
correction.
nice-
No, we never did formally
It
assign
would be
you.
nice if a second committee,
Yes.
so TGSA will take it.
Yeah.
It would be nice if there's just another committee, it gets awfully lonely up there.
Well, I just heard Frank nominate himself, so
Yes.
we have a second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
He's looking for
You
a
just
second
bought it.
committee.
How about a secondary
The
committee?
second committee,
Are we making these all separate motions, Mr.
Well,
Meyer?
Yes. yes.
Okay.
He should
Appreciate
furnish
that.
Wonderful
topics.
sense of humor. He is definitely teasing.
All right.
Frank, we
you
can all
have-
just stand behind you.
I
know, right.
Frank, you didn't have enough company when you were doing the
Right.
bag ordinance?
No, we have absolutely excellent teamwork.
Now we come to the fun part of the evening, which is the listing of all of the different topics that might be updated to the RTM. I promised I would put them out here, put them on the agenda, which I've done. Except I left out Pear Tree Point, so you feel free to, if you want to jot that down on it somewhere, yeah.
And should we add buses? It's on.
No.
I see it.
They're there.
It's there.
They're
Bus
there.
Oh, bus concerns, there it is.
The bus concerns and the bus and the sidewalks are sort of the same subject. You could put them both together, I think. But where we have things here, given this meeting coming up, that rise to the level of wanting to take the RTM's time, I mean, I'm open to suggestions, but a lot of this stuff is on TV.
Okay, can I make a comment about
Yes,
that?
please.
As somebody who missed a meeting last week and then watched it today, it is so hard for everybody to go to their respective meetings. To expect every single RTM member to then watch the meetings of every committee, I think is asking a lot. We canceled a meeting last month. That was a perfect opportunity to do updates rather than cancel a meeting. And it's just much easier for people to go to an RTM meeting they know is on the schedule, and even if we don't have to vote on anything, get a quick update on everything without having to watch 6 or 7 different meetings at home. That's just my opinion.
That's what we're talking
Um,
about. Yeah.
and
Can
may
I
I
get,
add-
Jen, before you
yeah,
go,
go,
yes,
go
absolutely.
in, I think we probably agree. I really disagree.
Okay.
I strongly disagree. I think if the RTM has business, then we should be there and vote. And if the RTM doesn't have business, I don't wanna waste everybody's time. Okay? Number 2, a lot of these things on this list just are none of our business.
Thank you.
They really aren't. I know,
No,
I,
well,
that's
you-
like I said, we
disagree.
don't
Read the
agree.
charter.
So, some of
Please
the,
read the charter.
some of the things on this list are things that I suggested, and I think that if we have appropriated money,
Yes.
we have a responsibility to
No
follow
problem.
those projects and get regular updates until they're completed.
I got no problem with that, I agree
We
with you.
agree with that.
And so those are the core, and then in terms of the roads, the busing thing is none of our concern, but our concern are the sidewalks safe for,
Well, the police have
The
given. a
Public
report to
Works
the board
has
that-
done a walkthrough of all the sidewalks, as I understand it.
People are doing their
But-
job.
but the core ones that I put on were the things that we've appropriated money to, that until it's completed, we should get regular updates.
Mike, do you mind just, I think I know which ones you're talking about, but if I ran through the list, will you tell me whether or not we're in there? I have Highland,
Yeah.
I need my glasses, sorry.
Mike and I both did these, so
Yeah.
we
Okay.
probably both did Highland because that was appropriated, we just
Oxbridge.
want an update on it.
Diller. We have not appropriated Weed Beach Meadow at this time. Solar installation.
Is that on the list or off?
Solar
We're just
installation.
Winnowing.
The Oxford School.
Yeah, I had
Yeah, we have
Oxbridge,
that, yeah.
Diller,
Yeah,
and that.
Yeah, Ox Ridge does want to come.
I know they
talked to
do,
them, and I talked to the chair, and they are prepared to come and give us a presentation. So that, I would say, is a definite.
And then I also put, and so we don't necessarily have money appropriated towards it, but I put Palmer Development because we'd wanted them to speak when the other 2 developments came and gave a presentation, remember? And they weren't ready to do it. And I
Well,
think,
Jeremy, though, gave
Yeah.
but I think that now that it's broken ground and it's really taking effect in that area, I just think an update. Like, there's no agenda about this, but I think it is, it's a big project that we waited a kind of a long time to hear from, and so I thought, Jeremy could do it, but Steve Alvaney, you and I had talked about that, he was more than willing to come and give us like a preview of a presentation today, and then if we wanted to do it, he could do it in the future, so I just think that's a really important
And it's the
last
only one that
development.
hasn't come to us to give us an update, and they didn't do it last year, and they didn't come again this year, but Federal Realty came and David Genovese came.
Yeah, and they did a great job, and so,
But I would pencil in for a June meeting, a complete update on all 3 projects as we leave for the summer, about what the status is through the first 4 months of construction, before everyone leaves for the summer.
And probably at that time have an update on the intersection.
the easements,
Right.
On the, where they are on the easement.
Right.
Because my understanding is, from what they reported to the Board of Selectmen, their hopes are to start in June.
Yes.
So that they are completed, and they're prioritizing things, so that they have most of the work completed before school starts, all of that.
but these easements that are being accepted, that we had to get, the 7 easements, they, the work that's gonna be done, if you're talking about along Norotan Heights, those, Ed Gentile said they all have to, I met with him, they all have to be done consecutively, so they
Yes.
can't be done at the same time. So we should not be under the, belief that this will be done all in the summer. when we're
Nobody,
gone.
nobody
Yeah, yeah.
said they would,
Yeah, yeah,
so
he said
that's,
so,
he's going to try to get it done.
yeah,
But so that would be an appropriate update
yeah.
to say here's
He's the one
where
who
they
said,
are.
don't think that it's gonna be done.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just
no.
using his words.
He
Yeah.
also said that at the Board of Selectmen
Selectmen.
meeting. He's very.
All right, so
straightforward.
how many do you want to put on the agenda? I have Palmer's, Highland Farm, Ox Ridge, Diller, and Solar.
So
All for the first, all for the.
if I might provide some additional information, on the Highland is scheduled to have its driveway in. They, P and Z gave an extension from when they can have certain work. They have not gone out to bid on the landscaping aspect of it, and therefore, at this stage, prior to having the landscaping bidding to know if they have to add more money to the 600,000 would be premature, based upon that. I mean, the big thing that people who do follow Highland know, that they delayed the putting in of the parking area, partially because, if you don't know, the asphalt plants close in October, and therefore, and the conditions were too muddy in order to put it in, so they will be putting it in the spring.
So I think I agree with you of what you're saying is, because we were talking about Highland and just getting update, but since they really haven't discussed landscaping at all, to my knowledge, or sent it out to bid, so you're saying it probably doesn't make sense to do it right now and wait to do it
Correct.
a little later. I
Right,
would
sure,
agree
I-
with that. I think when
correct.
we were talking about this a few months ago, we were trying to come up with ideas, but
Well,
now
it's
that
spring
we
and
just
people are
heard.
gonna wonder what the status of it is going
Right,
in
and
April.
but I think,
And
in-
if there's one sentence that this is the thing, this is the schedule of what's gonna be done in April and May, cause it's a natural that people are gonna say, gee, when's it all gonna be done?
well, I think
Rather than
that.
wait till it's done to say, guess what, it's all done.
No, I
No, that'll be a
think, what I'm
problem,
saying
yeah.
is they, because I have several members of my committee who follow this very closely. But I think that it would be, I don't wanna put a town administrator or a town employee, being grilled when they know they're going to do something, but they don't have at least the information. That's not fair to them. So, I would rather that they're going out to bid, and they at least have the bid information and when it's going to be done. I'm assuming that if we wanna do something in the April timeframe, or maybe even during the budget meeting, that would be more appropriate. But right now, there's nothing being added to the Highland budget, that was approved by us, so.
Yeah, it feels like there's no news and that nothing would be occurring until after Memorial Day, or it might even go.
Well,
into the
I'm
fall.
anticipating that
Yeah.
the parking will be in, but I'm anticipating that sometime in the spring, they'll go out for the bid on the landscaping. So that's the last thing that I heard from Kate, based upon some questions.
So whoever would do an update on that, it would take a minute to do that sentence. Here's your update on Highland Farms. It would take about a minute.
So are you, so would that make sense, like, Adele is the chair, so she could give a 1-minute update if
But
that's.
it's really only a minute update.
No, it's not parking, right?
Highland
It is, but
does
it's
fall under the,
It
Well,
is,
you're-
but we
it's a
pay.
town property,
But
but
they
it's.
take care of it. They
Right.
take care of it.
Right.
So,
It doesn't make that much difference, it's just.
Sure.
No, I'm saying.
I think there's a curiosity,
Yeah.
as the weather gets warm in April, of what's the status.
Yeah, no, I'm not opposed to giving that update, but it's a 5-minute update.
Yeah.
And that's all people need, like, that's,
You know,
I mean,
or
Well, it
that's-
is,
yeah.
I will say, it. I think it is in the Park and Rec brochure. At the very front of the Park and Rec brochure that's just coming out, the mail
I have no
this
idea what
coming
the
week.
Parks and Rec brochure is.
Yeah, well, I can send you the digital version of it, but you'll get it in the mail.
Programs that
You'll get it in
go
the
on.
mail, yeah, the summer, and spring, summer, and
Like
it
what?
gives an update on the different things that are going on.
I know, but the
Highlands
whole-
part
I
of it,
think-
it explains.
The goal, I would say, is that, you know, this was a hot button issue prior, we've moved on from now. Well, one of the ways it maybe did not have to become such a hot button issue is that there had been more transparency and discussion and updates on Highland. So I think as we're just trying to move forward, I get your point about just giving, you know, a 2-minute update on it, so that,
Okay, so we want Highland. We don't want Highland. Still,
I
help
would say
the
it's a
chair
short,
here.
of the money that we've appropriated money to, projects that haven't been completed, that's one of the more high-profile ones.
But if it's appropriate to wait till April where they're gonna have something to say, then
Right.
it doesn't make sense to put it on March and then April again. So
Put it
that
in-
would be my suggestion,
Yeah,
is let's look at it
I
in
would
April.
Yeah.
prefer-
Put it in
yeah, it
April.
can be a month from now, doesn't have to be
It's more the
this month.
philosophy, it's more the
Yes.
philosophy that I'm talking about,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
opposed to specific items
Right.
on specific months.
Mike, we
But I'm
also-
just trying to nail down the agenda for the next,
Meeting.
Right,
Yeah, I
I
can
just
do
wanna
it.
add something. Mike, I agree with you fully, and F&B has come to this body and said that we would like to have updates on every project that we're giving at least $1 million to. And I think that was agreed. We've had updates from the cafeteria and then at the post-cafeteria project when it was completed. This one I agree also simply because it's a very visual project, a visible project that we do. But I just
Drive right
don't
by
think
it.
at this time is the right time. that's why I said
Yeah,
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah,
March
and
and
Jack, that's an interesting point too, because the bonding was for 609 million, but that's not actually.
600,000.
600,000, sorry, I've been on a red eye. But that doesn't include the landscaping, so we don't know what those numbers are.
There
Oh,
is
it does.
landscaping, we
Does.
just don't know what the final bid on the landscaping
Is going to be, no, that,
So
what we're
that's-
saying is, no, when, just to reiterate, you had said your F&B only, you think that maybe it should be, we should be getting updates on projects that are
No, I'm
at a
saying,
million. I was coming back on the number you were saying.
I said that at a very least, on every project that we allocate $1 million to, or if there's a special appropriation, we should be getting updates in. So if we have something big, you know, another superstorm Sandy comes along and the town gives over 500,000, once that's resolved, we should have an update on it. So at the very least, anything over $1 million should have an update, and then anything under, depending upon the visibility of the project, and that's something that we could also request.
Right.
But I think that that should be a standard here, which is exactly your point, Mike, on where it is. But, like, if we're getting the HVAC, you know, and it's gonna cost $230,000, I mean, hopefully this whole thing works with the new system and everything, but I don't expect them coming back to say, okay, it works, I don't have to worry about this anymore. You know, it's just too little.
Can I say?
Okay, so, okay, Monica?
I think that if we're gonna do this, this kind of is a change in how we've done business. And I think, in order not to slight other committees that might or might not wanna talk to something, we need to have parameters, and I think a dollar amount is a really good place to start. So I totally, support you, and if you wanna drop the number because of Highland to 750 or whatever, but.
Still wouldn't, it still wouldn't.
Yeah.
There's
It's
a
not
lot,
the, excuse me.
there's a lot of
it's not the
$500,000
committee.
stuff that you know, like, quite honestly, if we do a $500,000, then that means we need an update on the replacement of the tennis courts of the high school, which is over about $512,000. I don't want an update on the tennis courts.
So why don't we stick at $1 million?
I think we stick at $1 million, and then we have the option on certain projects that have
Yes.
high visibility to get a response on that. I think if we keep it at that, that's, you know, give some options to the moderator.
All right,
Can I just
folks.
say one thing? I don't see this as a committee thing, I see this as the experts would give that
Right.
report, yeah.
Yeah,
Who deliver the project?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Where was the solar, is the solar working? Did they
Yeah,
finally
it's saving
solve
us
the
money.
financial?
Yes, it's up in
It's,
there.
Is it up and running?
And I believe it's saving money. I think some of it was reflected in this year's budget.
Yes.
A little bit.
You know, and so, we also, at the same time, if we're doing that, I might combine it again with the purchase of the lights from Eversource, which has also happened a number of
Street
years
lights.
ago, the street lights, which is also generating. So, I would ask Ed to possibly do both of those together.
Okay.
But, the big one is
It's Ox Ridge, isn't it?
is Ox Ridge. They went to P and Z. They did a presentation over at the, at the Board of Ed.
They're doing a road show.
So
They're doing
let
it,
them
they're
do
doing
their road show.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great update on what's going on.
So I've got that.
Great.
So I've
I
got,
would suggest.
so far, let me just help me, I have Palmer's,
Thank you.
does that sound right?
Mhm.
Ox Ridge,
Mhm. Thank you.
the solar lights,
I disagree with that.
oh,
Not
okay.
at next week.
No, I'm talking next meeting.
All right.
No, just
so-
Ox Ridge,
Just Ox Ridge.
yeah.
Oh, okay,
We have enough other stuff going on.
listen, guy, okay,
Ox Ridge, that's good.
all right,
Sorry.
good.
Now you know I don't
One
want to do
item,
that.
that's a good place to start.
I
Terrific.
think the other ones, and I think that Mike's suggestion and Patty's suggestion on the follow-ups on those other ones make sense, but the thing is to.
Well, we
As
missed a
Adele-
meeting, I mean,
I understand, but as Adele said, one of the things is that while we try and work, when we're getting out of front of something, it's because we're working with a board specifically. So again, as we're starting to get out ahead of the budget, it's because we're working with them and we want voices to be heard before the final budget is approved. However, there
why
are
do you think
elected.
Palmer's though? What?
No, Parmesan is a
Yeah.
different
I
situation.
just think we should
We
do
do
that.
have elected officials who are responsible for doing certain things. And it's their job to do their job. The other thing that really comes down to it is, regardless of what we might say about the bus, people can go back and forth to the Board of Ed.
No,
But
that's
as
what the
was-
dialogue
Wait, as was misstated in a Board of Selectmen meeting, it is the Darien Police Department who determines the safety, not the Board of Ed. So it would be a report from the police department, not the Board of Ed. Now, if they're changing their policy, which they're starting to look at,
Mhm.
and that occurs, but they're first deciding the scope on that project. And even if they do it, it's gonna be a 4-month, project from what they initially estimated. So if they're changing the scope on 2 miles to something different, then that's something where we could possibly take an update in. But the bus for those students is going to happen next fiscal year. The funding wasn't approved by by several members of the Board of Ed, but the superintendent has
Put it
been
in.
very straightforward
He's
that
gonna
he is
do it. Yeah,
putting
good.
a bus
Yep.
there.
Good, good.
Can I,
All right,
suggestion
yes,
on the,
Lois.
on the solar installation and the Eversource, since Ed Gentile's gonna be there, in that March meeting, do you think?
No,
Still
no.
new.
Please.
And
Not
he has-
ready? Okay.
Yeah, and he has other stuff, and he's gonna be
Yeah, I
on
feel like we
vacation
just
the
gave
week
that.
before.
Oh, okay.
I feel like we just gave that to it.
All
Just a
right.
quick question about the parameters and move
Yes,
on.
yes.
So why would we, I mean, I'd love an update on the bag ordinance, I mean, not now, in the fall, right, after we've had a good year to get it under our belts. And I know that doesn't have a dollar figure, no investment attached to it, but to me, it's of interest, particularly as we're asked to take up other topics of like it, so is it a dollar figure or is it
With exceptions.
Gotcha, good, that's an
It's,
exception.
it's a
Yeah.
dollar figure on projects that we have put money to.
Right, with
But
exception.
other things that
obviously,
we
don't
have
worry.
done, again, any high visibility, this would be a high visibility
So I heard that as dollar figure
for
of a
projects
million,
that we.
or We could do 500 if it's high visibility. There's a third
No,
group.
no,
there's
no,
a
no.
dollar figure associated with high
High
visibility.
No, no, okay, then I
I
heard
think of it
that
as the $1 million is
differently.
mandatory.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I heard that as
Everything
different,
else
I
is
heard that as
discretionary.
different, that we could look at a $500,000 project if it's high visibility.
Yes.
Did anyone else hear it that way?
It was $1 million or high visibility.
Right, and I heard that as we could go below $100 million if it was a $500,000 project,
Doesn't-
but it was high visibility.
It could be 200,000 and be a high visibility.
Right,
It
so
could be no
it's
money,
two
nothing.
things.
But it could be nothing, it could be zero like this.
Yeah.
I'm with you, not, we're
All
all
right,
same,
so
same,
listen,
same thing,
I
things
think
different
that
ways.
is, I think Lois was saying it well, and, it's mandatory for any project that we're doing $1 million on. We can also have high visibility regardless if
Of
we put
cost.
any money towards
Great.
it on any project that we want. There is one thing I did wanna mention, I had a conversation with somebody earlier today on this, but, the smoking ban at Parks and Rec, in the parks and the beaches, there's a little interesting twist to this, and that is Kathy Emmett, who's a very respected town council for the city of Stamford, advised the city reps after they tried to put a ban in Stamford that they cannot. The fact of the matter is that all of the beaches are effectively owned by the state. Hence, the only one who can ban smoking on beaches is the state, not any of the towns.
Right. and-
So,
but
if
we
they
had
wanna
already
do it
done
in the park, if they wanna do it in the parks, be my guest.
They've
No,
already
it's
done it
already
in the
done,
parks.
Jack.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, since I saw it there, I just wanted to
Yeah,
I
have
saw it too.
Yeah.
everybody
it's-
clarify.
So, right, it was all,
I don't follow Park and Rec Commission, I have enough to follow.
it was,
Well, it's on the front page of the applicant.
it was on the front page of the advocate.
Oh,
It
well,
was
that's
already.
what happened with
Yeah.
Stanford, yes, yes.
So, yeah.
So we hope to, you
All
know.
right. Folks, so we ready to go here?
That's how I saw it.
Yes.
As I understand it, we'll go on to try and set the agenda here. We'll put Ox Ridge first,
Yes.
get that out of the way, okay. So
Yes.
Ox Ridge, and then we could just follow paragraph 3 there and do West Norotan Avenue, and then the special appropriation for police, acceptance of the gift for the police department, and the resolution on Appendix B. Is that okay?
So we decided not to do Palmer.
We-
at the
Why,
next
I don't
meeting?
understand why
Yes.
we can't do Palmer's, it actually, we're doing all these easements right on this other side of the street of that, it just seems timely, Steve Alvaney will come and give the presentation.
Perhaps we'll know more, if it progresses just a little bit, they'd have more to say.
I mean, they just put the shovel.
But they've
in
never
the
said
ground.
anything.
They've
to us.
never
That's the
said
problem.
one thing, they've been
Never
asked for
actually
2
spoken
years
to
to
us. The
present.
other two have.
I think
Yeah.
they did,
No,
but
no, they
it's
never
way
did.
back when,
About 20
when
minutes.
they was first,
They did.
Maybe when they're first, but.
Long time ago.
yeah,
Long time
long
ago.
time ago, they
Federal
did,
Realty
yeah.
They did.
and David
The first
Douglas
session.
have come to us.
Exactly, I know they did.
And at
All
least
right.
the presentation that was done by the architect at the Board of Ed, and also I believe at P and Z, which I haven't watched, I understand, was about a 20-minute presentation. It's not a 2-minute update. So, I mean, depending upon what their show is, if they're doing that, it's 20 minutes in, and, I mean,
We can set
I
a
don't
time
want
on
it
it
We
too.
to.
can
I
ask
don't
for
know.
a shorter
Personally-
version of that, I mean, Steve Alvaney's a professional, he knows how to,
he's
Let me
not,
check all
he's
this.
not doing
He's
the
not doing
Oxbridge.
Oxbridge Building Committee.
Yes.
wait, are you
Right,
talking
no,
about
it's about
Oxridge or
Palmer.
Palmer?
Oxbridge.
Oh, I'm sorry.
no,
that's
I-
what
Take a while.
I think I'll
Well,
find that
so,
too. Yeah.
I can ask the Oxbridge Committee to hold it to 10 minutes or something, or 15 minutes?
Is that,
No.
is Kip gonna do it?
You're up for the,
Yeah,
Oh,
Kip can do
no.
it fast.
Even if they're doing it fast, this is a $60+
Million,
million dollar
Yeah,
project.
I wanna hear
Oh,
it.
all right.
I want the
Yeah,
I'm
update
just,
on Oxridge.
I'm not sure where you were going, all right.
No, what I'm
All right.
saying is, we got 20 minutes. And,
Okay.
and I'm not looking to have every one of my weeknights be a 4-hour meeting.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
rest of the things are whereas votes, like this
Okay.
is the content of the meeting, I think.
All right, so
Besides the
we're
voting.
doing Oxbridge, if we,
You know what I'm saying.
Oxford,
Ox, where are we go?
here's what I got
This is the
Oxford
content,
first,
The
and
resolution.
then the 4 items up in paragraph
Yeah, right.
3 in order,
Yep,
that's 5
yeah,
items.
that's what I've got.
You're not doing Palmer's?
Now, are we, folks, we doing Palmer's or not?
I would propose.
I'm getting a no.
You're getting a no from Jack.
Getting a no from
But he's-
Adele.
Jack and
he's-
Adele.
But he's been up to his neck, you know,
Right.
he has a pretty good idea
First
of
of
what
all,
we're
I
gonna
think you
find.
invite them to give a presentation, but, you know,
In
they.
a week.
Yeah, so,
So then maybe Palmer's for the April meeting and give
Yeah.
him notice.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
And tell, and let him know now so they can prepare.
yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna do, Oxridge, and then do, the easements, and then do the special appropriation for the police department, HVAC, the acceptance of the gift for the police department, and the resolution of modifying Appendix B. Can I have a motion in favor of that, please? Well, no.
Okay, that's too controversial.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's, there's a whole thing in the library, shows the layout, that just, there's been a big article about raising the beach level.
Okay.
I mean, you
You're
have
not
to
ready
be
for
in, right, exactly. So, may I have a motion in favor, please?
So moved.
There. How you doing?
I get it.
Second, please? Thank you. Monica. Great. All in favor? Okay, looks unanimous. Opposed, no? Okay, great. Wonderful. Other business? We sort of covered a lot of other business with the thing. I will, yes, sir.
If I might, just because I have most of the chairs here, and I can speak to Amy, because Amy and I already talked about the 824 report that will be happening by the P&Z. If you guys cover the details, that allows me to just cover the finances, so you guys don't have to worry about the finances. I'll deal with the numbers, and we can expedite this meeting along.
Understood.
Thanks.
Wonderful. I'll take a motion to adjourn. All in favor, please rise.